Let's move to angle in standard position or standard angle. Directed angle. Consider the ray OA and rotate it in anti-clockwise direction about O till it occupies the position of the ray OB as shown in the figure. Then the angle so obtained due to rotation is called directed angle AOB. It is denoted in this way. Initial arm. The original ray is called the initial arm. In the figure, ray OA is the initial arm. Terminal arm. The final position of the ray after rotation is called terminal arm. In the figure, ray OB is the terminal arm. Vertex. The point of rotation is called the vertex. In the figure, point O is the vertex. Consider these two figures. In directed angle, we take into consideration number 1, initial arm, number 2, terminal arm, number 3, the amount and the sense of rotation of the initial ray. Friends, we note that angle POQ is not equal to angle QOP. If the rotation of the initial ray is anti-clockwise direction, then the measure of the directed angle is positive. If the rotation of the initial ray is clockwise direction, then the measure of the directed angle is negative. Vertex of angle in standard position. In rectangular coordinate system, the origin O is the vertex of angle in standard position. Let's look at the measure of standard angle. In rectangular coordinate system, a directed angle with its vertex at the origin O and the initial ray along positive x-axis is called standard angle or angle in standard position. In this figure, theta and alpha are standard angles. For angle AOP, OA is the initial arm, OP is the terminal arm, and G is the amount of rotation. For angle AOQ, OA is the initial arm, OQ is the terminal arm, and alpha is the amount of rotation. Let's understand what is meant by angle in quadrant. A directed angle in standard position is said to be in particular quadrant if its terminal arm lies in that quadrant. In this figure, the terminal arm OP1 is the first quadrant. We say that angle AOP1 is in first quadrant. Here, the angle AOP1 lies between 0 degrees and 90 degrees or minus 360 degrees and minus 270 degrees. In this figure, the terminal arm OP2 is in second quadrant. We say that angle AOP2 is in second quadrant. Here, the angle AOP2 lies between 90 degrees and 180 degrees or minus 270 degrees and minus 180 degrees. In this figure, the terminal arm OP3 is in third quadrant. We say that angle AOP3 is in third quadrant. Here, the angle AOP3 lies between 180 degrees and 270 degrees or minus 180 degrees and minus 90 degrees. In this figure, the terminal arm OP4 is in fourth quadrant. We say that angle AOP4 is in fourth quadrant. Here, the angle AOP4 lies between 270 degrees and 360 degrees or minus 90 degrees and 0 degrees. Now let's see what is meant by quadrantal angle. A directed angle in standard position whose terminal arm lies along coordinate axis is called a quadrantal angle. In the figure, measure of angle AOA, measure of angle AOB, measure of angle AOC, measure of angle AOD are all quadrantal angles. Note that quadrantal angles are always an integral multiple of 90 degrees. Let's look at some examples. Example 1. For the angle in standard position, if the initial arm rotates 125 degrees in anti-clockwise direction, then terminal arm is in which quadrant? Solution. Since the initial arm rotates in anti-clockwise direction and the angle is more than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees, the terminal arm lies in second quadrant. Example 2. The terminal arm is in third quadrant. What are the possible angles? Solution. The terminal arm is in third quadrant. The angle is in between 180 degrees and 270 degrees. If the initial arm rotates anti-clockwise direction, or the angle is between minus 180 degrees and minus 90 degrees if the initial arm rotates clockwise direction. Example 3. The terminal arm is on negative x-axis. What are the possible angles? What can you say about this angle? Solution. The terminal arm is on negative x-axis. The possible angles are 180 degrees and minus 180 degrees. These angles are called quadrantal angles. Let's solve exercise 4.1. Question 1. 1. For the angle in standard position, if the initial arm rotates 220 degrees in clockwise direction, then terminal arm is in which quadrant? Answer. If the initial arm rotates in anti-clockwise direction, the terminal arm lies in third quadrant. 2. For the angle in standard position, if the initial arm rotates 25 degrees in anti-clockwise direction, then terminal arm is in which quadrant? Answer. If the initial arm rotates 25 degrees in anti-clockwise direction, then terminal arm is in first quadrant. 3. For the angle in standard position, if the initial arm rotates 305 degrees in anti-clockwise direction, then terminal arm is in which quadrant? Answer. If the initial arm rotates in anti-clockwise direction 305 degrees, the terminal arm lies in fourth quadrant. Question 2. The terminal arm is on negative y-axis. What are the possible angles? What can you say about this angle? Answer. The terminal arm is on negative y-axis. Then the possible angles are 270 degrees and minus 90 degrees. These angles are called quadrennial angles.